So we're going to cover basically all of the magnification and reading features, talk about what's new in ZoomText 10 as well. And my name is Derek Bovey. I work as a product specialist here at AI Squared in the sales and marketing department. So here's just a brief outline of what we're going to cover. We'll go over some basics about screen magnification, show you the toolbar, and then go through the magnification and reading features, as well as a brief overview of what is new in ZoomText 10. I'll give you a couple quick tips and then open it up to Q&A at the end. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into the live demo. And we're going to be demoing ZoomText live over the internet, so let me just go ahead and pull this up. One of the first things I want to mention that is new in ZoomText 10 is when you install the program, you have an icon on your desktop that says ZoomText Videos. If you double-click on that, that'll bring you to a page that has a repository of all the videos we've created. So if you ever want a refresher on what the new features are, you can just double-click on that icon and be brought to that page. ZoomText 10 and 9.1 can coexist with one another, so you see I have both icons on the desktop. But today we'll be showing ZoomText 10. So to start off, I'm going to do a couple things here first, just to kind of start us off at 1x. So I'm going to start ZoomText here at 1x or no magnification, just to kind of show you how this works. So this is what your desktop looks like normally. You know, you see the entire desktop and things like that. But when you're magnifying with ZoomText, first thing you're going to notice is as you increase your magnification, you're not going to be able to see the entire desktop. So since you're magnifying something, you're only able to see a portion of the screen. And in order for me to see the rest of the desktop, I can just simply move my mouse to the edge of my visible screen, and ZoomText will automatically track along so that I can see the rest of the desktop. So you can see now I'm in the lower left-hand corner where the Start menu is, and go all the way over to the lower right where my system tray and clock is. So again, just moving your mouse is going to get you to wherever you need to go on the desktop. Now this is one of the first things you're going to kind of have to get used to, is understanding where things are on the desktop when you can't see them at all times. And just, a couple quick rules of thumb. Lower left-hand corner is going to be your Start menu, okay, where you access your programs, documents, and where your quick launch icons are. Lower right, system trays, where any system-level utilities are running, like antivirus, speaker configuration, things like that. Your clock, and if you're running any applications, usually they're going to have file menus that allow you to manipulate that application across the top of its toolbar. So just remembering a couple of those rules of thumb will help you understand where you need to go, even though you can't see everything all at once. And we will get into a couple things, a couple different ways that you can view your screen using ZoomText that will allow you to see more of the desktop. So a few things quickly. You saw me clicking on the up and down arrows here to change the magnification level. ZoomText will magnify all the way up to 36x. Okay, so I can keep going. It'll make things really, really big on screen. One important thing to note is that we have a patented technology that allows us to have print quality text at any magnification level. So you can see how easy the text is to read, even though I'm at 20 times magnification. So that is a patented technology that only ZoomText has. So we give you the flexibility to zoom in almost as much as you want. And most users run anywhere from the 4 to 8x range is probably a good median for our user base. So just to give you an idea of what that looks like, that's what 8x looks like. And 4x, you can see a lot more. You can manipulate that magnification setting by those up and down arrows, or there are also hotkeys or keyboard shortcuts to do this as well. So on the keyboard, if you hold down the Alt key and press the plus key on your number pad, Alt plus will increase your magnification level, and Alt minus will decrease your magnification level. All of the ZoomText hotkeys are customizable by going to the Settings menu and clicking on Hotkeys. You'll have a list here. You can alter any of the hotkeys any way you like. So if you want to just alter the ones I was just talking about, they are listed under the hotkey group called Magnification. You see increase, magnification, and decrease is Alt numpad plus, so I could change that if I want to. So just keep that in mind. If you don't like the hotkeys, you can always change them. Another way to change the magnification level is you can hold down the Control key and use your mouse wheel. So Control mouse wheel down will decrease, your magnification level, Control mouse wheel up will increase it. So again, another hotkey combination in order to change that. All right, so a few other things. If you ever want to disable ZoomText quickly without closing the program, just click on the icon here, the ZoomText icon. That'll disable it. So when it's grayed out in the background, that means ZoomText is disabled. If you click on it again, it'll re-enable it. So now you see it's kind of filled in with the blue background there. There are hotkeys to enable and disable ZoomText. Alt-Delete will disable ZoomText, and Alt-Insert will re-enable it. So if you have someone coming up to the computer, maybe you share your computer with your kids or your spouse, you can use Alt-Delete to just disable it if they're not visually impaired and they don't need ZoomText, and then Alt-Insert to re-enable. So a couple quick ways you can do that. The next thing I'm going to talk about here is this button, this type button, that controls the different zoom window types in ZoomText. And what that means is basically what the magnified view looks like. So ZoomText is magnifying the screen, and we're in right now what's called full screen, which basically means that magnified view is taking up our entire monitor space. So there's a couple other modes I'm going to show you here, first of which is called overlay. Now remember in the beginning I talked about how not being able to see your entire desktop at once could be take some getting used to. The overlay mode is kind of a good tool to to kind of get yourself familiar with the layout of the desktop and how ZoomText magnifies. So what we have here is in the lower right-hand corner we have a window showing a magnified preview of where our mouse or keyboard focuses. So if I was using my keyboard, it'll automatically follow that as well. So in the rest of our desktop is unmagnified. So I'm getting the benefits of magnification in the lower right-hand window while still being able to see most of my desktop unmagnified. So I can see where my start menu is as well as have it magnified. So that's the overlay window. Okay, the next one is called Lens, and you can think of this as kind of dragging a virtual magnifying glass around your screen. You can see there's this box that's magnifying. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you're at a high magnification level, okay, you're not really going to be able to see a whole heck of a lot in that window. So what you can do is if we click on this type button again, there's a tool towards the bottom called Adjust. And with this Adjust tool, now that I clicked on that, you'll see that there are these handles around my zoom window. I can just click and drag one of these handles to resize it, make it a little bit bigger. And when I'm happy with that, I can hit the Escape key or right-click to accept those changes. So now my lens is much bigger, and if I were at a higher magnification level like 6x, you can see that I can see a lot more information in that window now that it's a little bit bigger. So overlay and lens are kind of good starter zoom window types if you're trying to get used to ZoomText and you really want to see the whole desktop, or maybe you just need a little bit of magnification at what you're focusing on with the mouse or where you're typing with a keyboard. These would be good alternatives to full screen. But most of our users, I'd say 99% of people, use the full screen mode and just kind of get acclimated to how it works and how they have to pan around the screen. All right, so the next four, excuse me, I'm skipping ahead. The next zoom window type I'm going to show you is called Line. And this is best illustrated in something like a Word document where you're typing. So I have a Word document on the desktop here. This is the Gettysburg Address. And I'm going to turn line zoom on, okay, and just start arrowing around this document. Now you can see that this is highlighting, or this is magnifying only one line of text at a time. So if I was editing this document, proofreading it, or typing, this is only going to make sure that my magnification is on the current line. So keeping my focus right there at my point of interest and not magnifying the rest of the screen. So that's line view. It's really best used in a document. If you were to have this view, and trying to find things on your desktop, you kind of have to do this up, down, left to right scrolling to find anything, and it's really kind of strange to use for that method. So again, if you're navigating with your keyboard or typing, very useful in something like a text editor like Microsoft Word. All right, so the next 4 Zoom window types I'm going to show you are called docked. You can think of them as split screen views, and I'm just going to cycle through these modes by hitting the hotkey, which is Control-Shift-Z. This will cycle you through all the Zoom window types that I'm showing you here today. So hit that hotkey once. Now we're in what's called docked bottom. So the bottom half of our screen is magnified, and the top half is unmagnified. So we're getting the benefits of magnification while also seeing an unmagnified version of our screen above. Both of these windows will scroll. Since you can't see the entire screen on either half, they will scroll independently so that you can get to the bottom or left and right sides of that. So that's docked bottom. Then we have docked top. So it's the same idea, just opposite half of the screen is being magnified. All right, and then we also have docked right. So now the screen is split vertically instead of horizontally. So right half of the screen is being magnified. Okay, and then finally we have docked left. So now the left half of the screen is being magnified instead of the right. So you have a number of different options when it comes to how you're viewing the screen being magnified with ZoomText. So this is just kind of a brief overview of what those different modes are. And if I hit that hotkey one more time, we're brought back to full. All right, so I just want to touch on a couple other things really quickly before we move on. There are a few other options here. The freeze window will allow you to create an area of the screen. Let me do that again. An area of the screen that's always visible, even if it's out of view. So you can create a section of the screen that you want to be visible, like the clock. And that will always be on screen, even if it's outside of my view. So you can create what's called a freeze window, which is just a static area on screen that will always be visible. And I'm just going to disable that. Dual monitor is unfortunately something that we can't demonstrate over the internet here, but ZoomText does support a dual monitor setup where you can span your magnified view across 2 screens. There's 3 different modes. So there's span view, which spans it across 2 screens. Clone view will show the same magnified view across 2 devices. So if you wanted to present something magnified, that would be a good way to do that. Primary 1x view is kind of like the overlay mode, where one monitor will be magnified and the other one will be unmagnified, which I think is a very useful mode for people that might want to see like a bird's eye view of their desktop, or maybe they're a ZoomText user and need to show a presentation to a group of sighted peers. They could use that mode with something like a projector and be looking at the presentation magnified on their laptop while the projector is showing an unmagnified version of that same screen. So a number of different modes that you have available with dual monitor as well. All right, so moving on, the next thing we're going to talk about are the enhancements. And these are all tools that are going to make it easier to read and locate things on screen. First thing I'm going to show you is the color filter, which has a number of preset schemes here, which is what I'm going to go through. You can create your own custom color scheme by clicking on the settings button. We're not going to cover that, but if you click on settings, you can create your own custom scheme. So I'll show you a few of these. First of which is invert brightness, which basically inverts all the light and dark values. So you can see here our document has become white on black instead of black on white, making it much easier to read. And again, higher in contrast, so that's very helpful for someone that has difficulty reading. So the next one, and probably one of the more popular modes, is reverse video. Kind of works the same way as invert brightness, except all the colors are inverted as well. If you compare the two, invert brightness will retain the color values like red, green, blue, yellow, etc. It'll invert the light and dark, whereas reverse video will just invert everything. So that's the difference between the two. A lot of people like the invert and the reverse video just because it increases the contrast. Most text is black on a white background, which can be hard to read. So inverting that really makes a huge difference. We have a number of other schemes here. For example, you have yellow on black. Some people prefer the yellow on black scheme. This is taking all of the colors and giving them a yellow hue, and light values are being changed to black. So you don't have really a large color spectrum there. It's just yellow on black. Blue dye, kind of the same thing. All the colors have a blue hue to them. And then we have black and white. So you have no color, desaturated, and black and white invert, which you can see here, white, black, and gray. All right, so that's the color filter. Again, the whole idea there is to improve contrast so that you can read something easier. All right, the next thing we're going to move on to is the pointer enhancement. And what this is going to do is allow me to more easily locate my mouse pointer on screen. So again, it has the same layout as the color filter, and we're going to go through some of these preset schemes here. First of which is yellow with full cross. So my mouse pointer is yellow, it's larger in size, and it has this cross intersecting it wherever the point of the mouse pointer is, making it really easy to pick up on screen. I won't lose that, versus the default pointer, which is just this kind of small white mouse pointer that can kind of blend in with the background. So going through a few others here, we have red with circle, so now you can have the mouse pointer circled if you want. There's even one called giant green, which is a really big mouse pointer. Be hard to lose that one on screen. So again, there are a number of size and locator options. I'm just showing you a subset of these. There's one that circles the mouse pointer when you move it, and it's stationary when it's stationary, the circle disappears. So you have a number of different options. If you want a subset of these, you can go down to settings and create your own pointer scheme. I'm probably just going to keep it on the large yellow, make it show up a little bit better against that background that's a little bit bigger in size. So that's the pointer enhancement, very self-explanatory. You can see how it works right on screen, and is a very helpful tool for a lot of people. Moving on to the cursor enhancement, this is kind of a similar idea, but what this is going to do is make the blinking text cursor a lot easier to locate on screen. You can see it right now blinking in between the letters H and E in the word the, and what the cursor enhancement is going to do, and again, same layout as the previous enhancements. I'm going to show you one of these preset schemes, which is blue wedge. And if I go back to my document, right now I won't see any changes because I don't have a text cursor on the toolbar here, but if I go back to the document, you'll see that it's highlighting where that text cursor is on screen. If I move it via my keyboard, it'll keep up with it and basically make it stand out. So I can tell where I can start typing or editing a document. And it's not really intrusive. You can see it has some opacity to it so that the letters show through. So again, just a really easy way to find where that text cursor is on screen. Now the last enhancement I'm going to show you is called the focus enhancement. What this is going to do is I'll explain how it kind of what it does first before I turn it on. So when you're through in a menu or something in Windows, if you're moving your mouse or via the keyboard in a file menu, okay, you have what's called the system or the operating system focus, which basically means what item you're on. So if you hit a key on the keyboard, like the Enter key, that's what it will activate. This is really hard to see, especially in newer versions of Windows. It's a light blue highlight on a light gray background, so very low in contrast. So what the focus enhancement is going to do is provide an additional highlight to what the system is already doing to make it stand out more. So again, same layout as the previous enhancements. I'll show you the first scheme here, which is called red rectangle. And if we go through now, you see this red rectangle is also highlighting where I move my mouse or if I use my keyboard. So just giving me some additional visual cue as to where I am and really making that stand out. So that's the whole idea behind the focus enhancement, is to help out with those. All right, moving on here, the finders I'll just discuss briefly. We don't normally cover these. Desktop Finder is an easy way to search for files or programs on your computer, either your desktop, your programs menu, or your My Documents. You can even look for things on the control panel. So you can choose to open files or programs through this. Think of it as kind of like a Google desktop search of sorts. The Web Finder button will activate the Web Finder, which is only available if you're in a web browser. We do demonstrate this in our What's New in ZoomText 10 video. This has been completely revamped for ZoomText 10 to make it really easy to search and navigate the web for whatever you're looking for. Text Finder will search for any text that's visible on screen. So if you're looking for a word in a document and just can't find it, you can just type it in and click on the search button. So it's kind of like a find feature for your screen instead of like an active application like what Word does. All right, so that covers what we're going to talk about in terms of the magnification features. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you the reader features in ZoomText, which are on the Reader tab. You can see that the toolbar is broken down into 3 different tabs here. We have the Magnifier tab, which has all the magnification-related settings, the Reader tab, which has all the speech-related settings, and the Tools tab, which houses most of the new features in ZoomText 10, which we'll touch on later. So first thing I'm going to do, and I did have speech disabled at the beginning of this webinar because I didn't want it kind of speaking over me, so to speak. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the speech button here and choose to enable speech.
Speech enabled.
And you should have heard ZoomText announce that speech is now enabled. Now, first thing I'm going to kind of show you here is what to expect when this is turned on. Basically, what ZoomText is going to do is describe what you're doing while you're using your computer. So when speech is turned on, it's going to tell me if I've opened a new application, if I open the Start menu, what item I'm on, etc. This is called screen reading, effectively describing what you're doing on your computer. So first thing I'll do is I'll open the Start menu.
Search box.
And it tells me I'm in the search box, which is where focus gets placed when you open the Start menu in that Search Programs and Files search box. If I were to arrow up the Start menu,
All programs. All programs has submenu.
Tells me I'm on the All Programs item, and if I keep going,
QuickTime Player. Snipping tool. Sticky notes. Calculator.
So you can see that this is reading as I navigate through the Start menu. So if you're in a File menu, it'll tell you that the File menu is open.
File. Open configuration ...
Okay, so effectively just describing everything I'm doing.
Magnifier.
And if you were to click on an application or open a new application,
Gettysburg Address Compatibility Mode Microsoft Word.
It'll read the window title of that application. So in this case, Microsoft Word, it says Gettysburg Address Compatibility Mode Microsoft Word. So anytime you open a new application, it's going to announce that window title to you, so you know that that's what you're doing.
ZoomText User Interface.
All right, so in terms of features that are specific to speech, the first thing I'm going to show you is the typing echo setting. And what this controls is what ZoomText says as you type. You can have it echo individual keys, you can have it echo the words as you type, or both keys and words. So I'm going to give you a short demonstration on how it works with key and word echo. So first thing I'm going to do
Address Compatibility Mode Microsoft Word
is open a new document in Microsoft Word.
New blank document. Microsoft Word.
Okay, so you hear it was reading to me as I was clicking on those buttons as well. So now I'll just start typing. I have word echo turned on right now, and let you listen to how this sounds.
Hello, and thank you for attending.
Okay, so you can see that as I typed, after I hit the space bar after each word, it would repeat back to me what I just typed. So that's how word echo works. Basically, just going to repeat back to you the last word that you typed. Now, if I turn on key and word echo, this is going to read each individual key as I type, as well as the word. So I'll let you listen to how this sounds as well.
H-O-W, how, I-S, is, T-H-E, W-E-A-T-H-E-R, weather.
Okay, so you can see how that worked. Now, keep in mind, with key echo on, I have to intentionally type a lot slower because I'm waiting to hear what speech said for that character and then pressing the next one. So for most people, you're going to want to keep it on word echo unless you're not a touch typist. If you're getting familiar with the keyboard for the first time or maybe need some sort of audio feedback when you type, that would be one case where I would keep key echo turned on. But I'd say for 90% of people, as long as you're familiar with the keyboard, word echo is probably going to be the best way. Otherwise, you know, it's not going to be able to keep up with you. You can change the speech rate here, so you can increase that all the way up, and it'll speak a little bit quicker, try and keep up. But again, if you're someone that can type at 50 to 80 words per minute, that's probably not going to, you know, be fast enough even. So again, I think most people are going to prefer word echo. All right, so moving on, before I talk about the mouse echo feature here, I want to talk about this setting. It's called Verbosity. And what this controls is basically there's three settings: beginner, intermediate, and expert. And ZoomText is set to expert by default. And what does this mean? Effectively, this controls how verbose or how much information the ZoomText screen reader speaks. So if I were to change it to beginner, okay, previously when I clicked on these buttons and opened these menus, it wouldn't say anything.
Typing echo menu open.
Now it'll announce to me that these menus are open.
Verbosity menu open.
And if we go to our start menu,
Search box, edit box.
it tells me instead of just search box, it tells me that it's an edit box. So it's actually reading the control type to me.
All programs has submenu for shortcut, use A.
And now it's telling me what the shortcut keys are for each associated item that I'm on. So again, the verbosity control is simply a way to tell ZoomText, I want it to read more information or less information to me. Now, if we go back here and go to settings,
verbosity, expert.
okay, if you go into settings, you have a very long checklist of items, and these are the different things that ZoomText can speak. So if you want to fine-tune it, you can go in here and check or uncheck those items based on your preference and what you want it to speak. So again, here's a description for you. Beginner speaks text in detailed descriptions, intermediate speaks the text in brief descriptions, and expert only speaks the text on screen. So most people are going to prefer expert, which is why we have that as a default setting, but if you need more information, set it to beginner or intermediate.
ZoomText user interface.
Okay, another tip too, if you ever want to interrupt ZoomText from speaking, like if it's saying something like the window title, you can just hit Control and that will stop it from speaking. So that'll basically, if it was reading a line of text, for example, you could hit Control and that would just interrupt it and stop it from reading. All right, so the next thing I'm going to show you is called mouse echo. And what this allows you to do is basically point your mouse pointer at anything on screen and have it be read back to you. So kind of like a spot reading tool. There's two different modes, and this is turned off by default. So there's instant and hover echo. I'm going to show you instant echo first, and then show you why hover echo is probably a better way to use this feature.
Instant.
Okay. Now that I have this turned on,
hello and
all right, and you see it already started reading without me really doing anything, but with this turned on, I can hover my mouse over any word in that sentence. It's going to read that whole line to me. So I'll put my mouse over the word you.
Hello and thank you for attending. How is the weather?
So this is just going to read anything I point my mouse pointer to. If we go to the desktop,
Gettysburg Address.
All right, and I hover my mouse over any of these icon labels.
Adobe Reader X, QuickTime Player, Microsoft Word 2010, ZoomText 9.1.
Okay, you can see that it's reading the group of text associated with that button or that icon. So this is immediately going to read text to you as soon as you point your mouse pointer over something. Now, this is good on the web if you're trying to read something like an article title or a link or something like that. You can just point your mouse pointer over it. But if we were to be doing something like have this Gettysburg Address document open, okay, and I was just visually inspecting the document and moving my mouse to move my view, this is kind of what's going to happen.
Conceived in so feel great Civil War.
So I'm just moving my mouse around on screen, and anytime it's encountering a new line of text, it's trying to read that to me. Since we have it set to instant echo, it's just immediately trying to speak all of these different events that are coming up when the mouse pointer encounters a new line. So for that reason,
ZoomText,
I generally mention to people you're better off using hover. And how hover mode works is you just have to hold your mouse pointer over what you want to read for about a half second. So I could be moving along, scrolling this document, and then say, oh, I want to read this line.
Will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never.
So you can see I just held my mouse pointer over the word nor, and then it read that line. So instead of it constantly trying to read this text over and over as it encounters new lines, the hover setting gives you a little bit more control. So again, mouse echo is more of a spot reading tool, and probably going to be better off using it in hover mode than instant.
No echo.
Okay. All right, so the last two things I'm going to show you in terms of reading features are our reading tools, App Reader and Doc Reader. You can use these to read any type of text information, whether it's an email, web page, Word document, PDF, any sort of plain text, it's going to read it. They both work the same way. They'll read through the entire document start to finish. The only difference between the two is how they look visually. Doc Reader kind of looks like a teleprompter that you would see a news anchor reading from. It opens up the text in its own interface in a high contrast color scheme, whereas App Reader will simply display a highlight on screen as it's reading. So I'm going to show you Doc Reader first, and then I'll show you App Reader. I'm going to go to the beginning of this document before I start it.
Text user interface.
And now I'll click on Doc Reader. Okay, so you see the text from our document here, and I can just simply click on the play button or hit enter to begin reading.
The Gettysburg Address. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation.
All right, so I hit the enter key. You can also left-click to pause as well. So you can see that it's highlighting as it's reading. This will go through the entire document start to finish.
Play.
I can adjust the rate or the magnification power.
Power 7x.
Okay, so you can make it a little bit bigger if you want. Right now we're in what's called prompter view, which again is like a teleprompter. There's also another mode called ticker.
Ticker mode.
Which will show you a preview of your document in the bottom half of the screen, and the top half acts kind of like a news ticker. It scrolls along left to right horizontally as it reads.
Nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Okay, so you can see how that works. I'm just going to go back to prompter.
Prompter mode.
Now, one other thing that's unique to Doc Reader,
Settings.
if you go to Settings,
Doc Reader.
is you can actually customize what the font looks like in Doc Reader. So I could change the font face and style, its color, and the highlight color all in here. So I'm just going to make a couple changes just so you can see how it looks. So I'll change the font to Tahoma, and let's do yellow text on a black background.
Yellow.
Okay, so I can see that here, and I'll change my highlight color to red.
Red.
All right, so you see a preview of what that looks like. I'll click OK.
ZoomText 10.
All right, so now you can see that the text in Doc Reader now reflects those changes I made, and I can just hit enter to begin reading again.
Equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war.
Okay, and when you're done with Doc Reader, or really any other tool mode in ZoomText, right-clicking or hitting escape is going to get you out. You can also click on the exit button here to exit as well. So I'm just going to hit escape. I'm brought back to my application, and the text cursor is actually placed on the last word that we were on with Doc Reader. All right, so that's how that works. Now I'm going to show you App Reader. And App Reader is going to immediately start from that text cursor position. So I'm going to click on it. It's going to start highlighting as it reads along.
Or testing whether the nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure.
Now to pause App Reader, I just left-click the mouse. You can also hit the Enter key. And while it's paused, I'm still in the application, but I can't click on the File menu or make edits to the document or switch to another application. But what I am able to do is left-click on another word that's visible on screen and have App Reader start reading from there. If you just want it to resume, hit the Enter key or click on the current word. But I'm going to click on a different word and have it start there.
It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this, but in a larger sense.
All right, and when you're done with App Reader, again, this will read start to finish. It'll tell me when it gets to the end, but I'm not going to make you guys sit here and listen to this whole document. But when you're done with it, just like Doc Reader, right-clicking or hitting escape will get you out of the tool. And you see our text cursor is placed on the last word. I now have control over the document again if I want to start making edits, so I'm out of the App Reader tool mode. So those are the two reading tools in ZoomText. The last few things I'm going to talk about today are the new features in ZoomText 10, one of which is ZoomText Camera, which allows you to have to use an HD webcam and view printed material on screen. You can even use high contrast color modes to make this really easy to see. Okay, so we have 6 different color modes you can see here. So again, I'm just using an off-the-shelf HD webcam to view a newspaper article in this case. AI Squared also offers an official camera and stand package for $149. Comes with a Logitech C615 HD webcam and a stand that attaches to the edge of your desk, so making it really easy to set up and view printed material. So that's a great new feature in ZoomText. For under $150, you can have a CCTV alternative that's portable and doesn't take up hardly any room on your desk. The Recorder feature allows you to take text that you've copied to the Windows clipboard and save it out to an audio file format. You can directly export that to something like iTunes and have it synced to your iPod or iPhone. So any electronic text, email, web page, document can be saved out to an audio file. Background Reader lets you listen to text while you perform other tasks. So I just showed you the reading tools and how those worked. And kind of when you're in those, you can't do anything else while it's reading. So Background Reader allows you to start listening to all that information and go about other tasks, such as taking notes or maybe answering other emails. Now the Image Reader heading here with these buttons that are grayed out, Image Reader is a forthcoming companion product to ZoomText 10 Magnifier Reader, which will be a document, camera, and OCR software package that will allow you to take a picture of printed material and have it read back to you. So that's coming sometime next year. Look for more information on that in the coming months. Okay, couple quick tips before we open it up to Q&A. If you've made changes in ZoomText and you want to save those and make sure that it always comes up in that configuration, make sure that before you exit the program, go to the File menu and choose the fourth option, which says Save as Default. This will make your current settings the default settings so they come up that way every time you start ZoomText. So just click on the Yes button there to accept those changes. A few other settings, if you go to the Settings menu in ZoomText and go to Program, and Windows Vista or Windows 7 will prompt you with this user account control. So just accept that or log in if you need to. If you want ZoomText to start automatically when the system starts after you log into your computer, check the very top checkbox that says Start ZoomText Automatically. You can also have it start from a shortcut key. So if you check that box, you can have ZoomText start from a shortcut key, which is Control-Alt-Shift-Z. If you don't like that hotkey combination, just click your mouse in that box and choose another hotkey. You have to use Control-Shift or Alt as one of the keys. So you could do Control-Z, for example. That's probably not a good one, since that's probably undo in most programs. But let's say you did Alt-Shift-Z, okay? And then just hold those keys down, press the key combination, and it'll show up there. And then just click OK to accept those changes. So ZoomText is highly customizable. I mean, we're just scratching the surface on things you can do, but just a couple quick tips if you're starting ZoomText for the first time. All right, so that concludes our demonstration. I'm going to go ahead and just show you one last slide here with our contact information on it and a few other things. So our sales and support hotline is listed there. Tech support is available 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. So if you have questions on using the product or maybe you've run into some issues trying to get it installed or configured, go ahead and give tech support a call and they can help you out with that. We do have a worldwide network of dealers that resell our product. So if you go to our homepage, which is ai2 and click on the Dealers tab, that will bring you to a repository of all of our dealers listed by state here in the U.S. and country internationally. In terms of webinars, right now we do 3 webinars a week. This webinar is given every Wednesday at noon. We also have 2 What's New in ZoomText 10 webinars on Monday at 10 a.m. and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern. You can find all of those on our training page on our website, which again is ai2, and then click on the Support tab up at the top. And then on the left-hand side, click on Training and Consulting, and you can sign up for any other future webinar. These are all free. All right, so that concludes the webinar. Did anyone have any questions? And again, if you want me to unmute you, there's a button to raise your hand. Just click on that, and I'll unmute you, and you can ask a question. If not, just type it into the chat panel or the questions panel, and we'll pick it up there. Okay, well, if there are no questions, one last thing before we go. If you have any follow-up comments or questions after the webinar, you can email us at learning@ai2, and we'll pick up your questions there. Thank you guys for attending. Hope you enjoyed the webinar and got a lot out of it, and you have a great rest of the day. Thank you.